It is all the buzz in the Queen City. NBA legend Michael Jordan finalized a deal to sell the Charlotte Hornets after leading their operations for more than a decade. Queen City News is covering every angle of this monumental move. We start at the Spectrum Center with Queen City News Chief Business Correspondent Taylor Young. And Taylor, I understand that you spoke with fans today. Pretty curious how they're reacting to the news.
Yeah, the majority of them are disappointed. You know, Michael Jordan is a legend that has been the face of this franchise since 2010. But we did speak with some fans today who said this is the right move for the team. Whatever their focus is, whatever their opinions are, rather, their focus is now on who these new majority owners are and the impact they're going to have on the team's success.
It's not game day, but all eyes are on the Charlotte Hornets.
It's just kind of shocking, especially when you broke the news to us.
After months of speculation, Michael Jordan has officially agreed to sell his majority ownership.
It just feels like he almost cheated on the Hornets, and it's not. I feel like that's not right.
The six-time NBA champion has been the face of the franchise for decades. He purchased the expansion team in 2010 for $180 million. Becoming the NBA's only black owner.
I think he's the best basketball player ever, and it's really tough to tell people how to do things when you were so good at it. That's probably his problem, and he should just be a really rich guy in retirement.
Jordan is selling the majority of his stake to the buyer group. It's led by wealthy investors Gabe Plotkin and Schnall, both with ties to the NBA. Plotkin was a previous minority owner of the Hornets. Jordan sold him a portion of the franchise back in 2019. Schnall, on the other hand, is new to the Charlotte sports team. Right now, he's the minority owner of the Atlanta Hawks and is in the process of selling that share. The group also includes North Carolina recording artist J. Cole and country music singer Eric Church.
We love J. Cole. So I'm not mad about that. Okay.
Whether fans are for or against Jordan's decision to take a step back from the team, all want the same outcome, a team that wins.
They've not improved at all in the last 3 years. It's just like roll the ball out there and run up and down the court. And so hopefully they just get a better structure, and I'm glad to hear this.
Now, it is important to note that Jordan will continue to have ties to the team. He will be a minority owner now as part of the deal. Reporting live in Uptown, Taylor Young, Queen City News.
Taylor, thank you. And although he is regarded as one of, if not the greatest basketball players ever, Michael Jordan as an owner left a lot to be desired. Mike Lissette of Charlotte Sports Live is here to talk about his legacy here in Charlotte. We heard someone who Taylor interviewed talking about, how successful he was as a player, but maybe not so much as an owner.
Yeah, and to be clear, when talking about Michael Jordan as the GOAT, they're talking about him as a player and not an owner. Business-wise, he made out very well, as we talked about the $2 billion from the sale. But as far as wins, he did leave a lot to be desired. Since Jordan took control of the team as a majority of owner, they've had the 5th worst win percentage in the NBA. They've also never won a playoff series in 3 attempts, only 3 wins during that period, and they never finished higher than 6th in the Eastern Conference. Now, as Taylor just alluded to, that Jordan will stay on with the team in the majority fashion until July 1st. So the team's draft plans should not change, and that's also the case for prospective rookies.
It doesn't hurt me, no, it doesn't help me. So for me, that's on Michael Jordan, and that's something he wanted to do, and best of luck to him. But for me, my approach to every workout and every scout, in front of every coach doesn't change.
A draft, of course, coming up in 6 days. Hornets with 5 picks, including the number 2 selection. As for Jordan, a lot of the sources I've spoken to says over the years his interest in the team kind of diminished. He's got now several outside prospects, NASCAR, he likes to fish, his shoe company, obviously, and then, of course, he's got 2 kids that are twins, and I'm sure he wants to be around them as well.
Yeah, family priorities. He's got a lot going on for sure. I want to circle back around to the coach versus the player thing, because I'd like to hear from you why you think he was more successful as a player and just couldn't quite capitalize on that as an owner.
Well, it's interesting when you look at Jordan. This guy lives in a world that I think only people like Madonna and Prince and Michael Jackson
can't even imagine.
Know all about. So when you're talking about people that you want around you, you want the people that you can trust. And I think a lot of times when it came to Jordan's hires, he would hire people that he had a background with, a history with, that he knew that he could trust, and not necessarily people that maybe were best for the job. I mean, his college roommate, Buzz Peterson, was employed by the team. Buzz Peterson, not really an NBA guy. His brother, Larry Jordan, used to beat him one-on-one when he was in high school. He employed him as part of the team. I'm not sure if those are the best fits for the job.
Yeah, tough to hire.
Yeah.
Mike Lissette, thanks so much.